Hello, and welcome to The Long Take. My name is Justyn.
And my name is Ken.
And you are listening to the last episode of the summer for the two of us. We're going to take a little bit of a break, but before we do, we're going to take some time to talk about the latest Mission Impossible film, the fifth in the franchise, Rogue Nation. And we're also going to be talking about Straight Outta Compton. But we're going to start with Rogue Nation. But before we do that, how you doing, Ken?
I'm doing pretty good, Justyn. I'm glad that you asked. I was really hoping that you would ask me, because I love answering that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I ask you that pretty much every time we talk.
And it's one of those, my favorite part of the show, to be honest with you. Being able to relay my personal adventures and feelings on this show is what really makes me keep coming back. And I'm sure it's what keeps the audience coming back as well, because they all want to know what Ken Guidry is up to.
Alright, well, now that you succeeded in making me feel stupid, why don't we talk about the movie?
What are you talking about?
You're talking sarcastically about how nobody really cares how you're doing, except
no,
for me, so why would I ask
heck?
that?
What kind of matrix of emotions are you?
Well, maybe when you listen to this again, you'll understand where I was coming from. You know how people have told you that sometimes you come off a little sarcastically?
No.
Oh, God, get the fuck out of here.
Alright, what I'm saying is, I was just joking around. Jeez, my God. Jeez Louise, how Justyn, let me...
You gonna turn the tables on me right now?
In all seriousness, Justyn, how are you? How are you doing? And be honest.
I'm fine.
Oh, boy. Justyn, we all know that when someone says I'm fine, they're not really fine. So why don't you just go ahead and tell everyone how you really feel right now about, you know, your perceived sarcasm on my part, and just how it makes you feel that I would just be that way towards you, just off the cuff, and just really an asshole, you know?
No.
It's okay.
You want me to talk about it?
I mean, listen, I've heard it all before from everyone.
Yeah. Maybe I was projecting a little bit.
Okay.
I've had a long day, you know. I ran over a dog on the way to work.
No, did you? Wait.
And I was riding my bicycle.
Oh, did you fall? Are you okay?
I scraped my knee.
I mean, fuck the dog. Are you okay?
Well, after I ran into the dog bit me.
Ah, jeez. Well, on one hand, you have to say that you could see that coming. I mean, the dog was probably pissed off that you ran it over.
I probably deserved it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you deserved it. All right, I'm just saying
the dog
that
had the right of way.
Where were you?
I was here. I was in town. I was on my way to work.
Mm-hmm. But where were you that the dog had the right of way? You know what I'm talking about here?
Riding in my neighbor's backyard.
Well, Jesus, Justyn. I mean, come on. First of all, how is that even a viable route
I was trying
to get to work?
I was running late, and I figured I would cut through their backyard, shave some time, instead of going the long way, you know, on the street. And then I knew they had a dog, but I didn't think it'd be out. And then I hit it. And then I hit it. I'm sorry.
You were gunning for that dog, weren't you?
Fucking hate that dog.
Fuck that dog. Speaking of dogs, Tom Hanks once co-starred with a dog in Turner and Hooch, and Tom Hanks was once directed by Steven Spielberg in Saving Private Ryan and Catch Me in the Can. If you can, Steven Spielberg. Catch Me in the Can. Is that what it's called?
You know how like Castaway was just him on an island. Catch Me in the Can is him in a bathroom for 2 hours. He ran out of toilet paper there. How's he gonna get out of there? He's stuck there.
I'm in transition mode. Alright. Steven Spielberg directed Tom Cruise in Minority Report and War of the Worlds, and Tom Cruise is a star of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
See?
That's the
there it all gets tied in together. Bam.
That's the connection. Alright, today is August 18th. I saw Mission Impossible Rogue Nation July 30th. So I'm pretty, today I remember most of it. I think when we start talking about these things, it comes back, like it has in other episodes.
It's been a while for me too. I think I saw it on the 8th or the 9th.
Right. So exact dates.
It'll start to come back, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Just like, that Celine Dion song. It's all coming back to me. I'm hoping
it's all coming back to me now.
Mm-hmm.
Moments of gold, and there are flashes of light. There
Here we
are
go.
things I'd never do again, but then they'd always seem right.
Mm-hmm.
There were nights of endless pleasure.
Are you doing William Shatner right now? William Shatner's rendition of that's. You know what? We need to do that right now. Just...
baby. No, all right. I'm gonna end that right there.
Wait, how did you know all the lyrics to that?
My mom listened to a hell of a lot of Celine Dion back when that.
Gee, okay.
Yeah.
Like, there were nights when the wind was so cold that my body.
The wind was so
There were nights when the wind was so cold that my body froze in bed.
Are you doing Alec Baldwin? Because that's what it sounds like.
I'm Alec Baldwin, and I'm going to do my rendition of Celine Dion's It's All Coming Back to Me. There were nights when the wind was so cold that my body froze in bed. If I just listened to it right outside the window. Let's just skip right to the chorus. That's what people want to listen to.
That's what they came to hear.
When you touch me like this, and when you hold me like that, I just have to admit that it's all coming back to me. When I touch you like this, when I hold you like that, it's so hard to believe, Liz Lemon, but it's all coming back to me. Thank you, folks. This was Alec Baldwin, the host of my own podcast. I can't remember what it's called. Also, the real star of the Royal Tenenbaums. Most of you might forget that I was the narrator of that movie, and I think I was really the one who really brought it together. Why Wes Anderson hasn't called me to star in any of his other films, or why I wasn't even starring in the Royal Tenenbaums. I mean, let's face it, folks, there were a lot of actors in that movie. I wasn't one of them. I was just the narrator. What I'm trying to say is this: Alec Baldwin wants to work with Wes Anderson. I will wear any costume. I will wear any weird hairdos. I just want some of that Ralph Fiennes glory. Anyway. Oh my god, what just happened?
Ken, are you okay?
Yeah. Sorry, I blacked out for a second there.
That's
so,
okay. I'm glad you're
okay. Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation is the fifth Mission Impossible movie.
That's right.
Mission Impossible movie. And it's really, honestly, the third one I've seen. I haven't seen episodes 4. I haven't seen episodes. I haven't seen the third one. I haven't seen the fourth one. I was gonna do it, but I just didn't have the time. When I had the time, when I had the time.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, do I really want to watch that now? It wasn't even on Netflix or anything free. I would have had to pay like $3 to watch it online, or I don't know where to like pirate it. I don't feel like doing something illegal. I'm no pirate, so I don't pirate movies in general. I find that to be a bad practice, especially since I'm a Rotten Tomatoes certified critic. And when you get to that level of amazingness,
I imagine it would change your thoughts on everything.
Pretty much
everything.
Sex, hate it, love.
So you've seen the first two, but nothing after that until this.
Yeah, and the second one, Jesus, that must have been like 14 years ago. What's fresh in my mind is the first one and the fifth one, and you're gonna have to fill in the holes with the rest.
Well,
so
I mean, I've seen them all, but I haven't seen the second one since like early 2000s, whenever it came out. I'm just like on IMDb looking at the cover for it, and it's even got like the token John Woo doves on the poster. So I don't know how wooey that movie is. I haven't seen a John Woo movie probably since in a long time. Face Off comes to mind. I've probably seen some others, but yeah. So I didn't get a chance to watch Mission Impossible. I would have liked to, because I really can't remember much about it except for like the stuff that we covered last time we talked. Those things, those segments of the movie that just stick in your head. But plot, it's very just vague recollection. But yeah, I've seen 3. I've seen 4. It's not even called 4. It's called Ghost Protocol. So I guess at this point they don't have numbers anymore. That way, it's not so weird when they keep coming out with new ones.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the first one and the fifth one, and probably the rest of them, I'm guessing, they really are just a collection of set pieces with, whatever kind of plot that's thrown in between those.
But I guess that's also what's so good about them, right? I mean, it works for these movies. Tom Cruise, it just works. They're really good action movies.
Yeah, it's set up so that the set pieces are the standout, and with the right director, with the right choreography, it can really work. Action choreography, fight scenes, and as long as the setups are interesting enough and memorable enough, then yeah. And they always seem to try to like up the ante with each film. I know that the fourth one has a scene where he's in that giant building, right?
Yeah, United Arab Emirates. In what's the name of the city? Good Lord. Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's on the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world.
Right. So that's kind of like what Mission Impossible is known for, having those types of set pieces. But I think we could really, what we can really do is just focus on the fifth movie, because that's, we both have seen that.
True.
It's both it's the freshest movie in our minds, and I'm
these
sure
movies stand on their own. Like, there's no reason. You don't have to watch any of the others to really enjoy any of them. So, with that being said, I don't know, let's dive right in. What are your takeaways from this movie, since it's been almost a month since you've seen it?
Right. Well, I thought it was really well done. Save for Mad Max Fury Road, this is probably my favorite blockbuster film of the summer.
Yeah.
It'd be number 2. It would be number 2. Because it's so fun. It's fun in a freeing way. Like, there is that phrase everyone always uses, check your brain at the door. I don't believe in that, of the idea that to enjoy these types of...
Yeah, you gotta
stare at the screen like a vegetable. I don't really understand that. Like, if it works, it works. If the plot and the set pieces work together in a harmonious way, then that's, I mean, you can, and that can be done. And I'm just getting tired of people having such low expectations, because then all of a sudden, when a movie tries to do something a little bit more interesting, a little bit, or just tries to be fun about the way it goes, and it's not too concerned with plot exposition, and it's just, I mean, there's, pretty much everything in Rogue Nation, plot-wise, is pretty standard stuff. I guess the more interesting aspects of it is really how, what's the IMF? The IMF is basically no more until it's back together at the end. But you have Alec Baldwin,
there he is again,
tearing down the IMF, bringing a couple of those agents into the CIA. Meanwhile, their goal is to stop Ethan Hunt, because he, as the first section ends, he's kind of like a man on the run, man without a country.
Yeah.
Even if he comes back to America, he's might get arrested or be apprehended.
Brought in.
Alec Baldwin's character does not like his ways, like his methods of solving these spy missions.
Did you enjoy the back and forth between Alec Baldwin and Jeremy Renner in those deposition scenes?
Yes, and I think that's what it's about. It's that the IMF isn't going to be closed forever, right? So what it's really about is just how it's approached, and it's they have fun with those moments. A lot of times you have these super serious plot exposition scenes going on in an action movie of this type, and it's just kind of, you're just waiting for the next set piece. But for me, when the movie was in straight up action mode, I was thrilled, and when it was taking an off break, I was enjoying it, because the characters are still fun. Some have argued with me about some characters not getting enough screen time, or then not that affecting the movie. I don't really care if Jeremy Renner doesn't get such and such screen time versus Ving Rhames and Tom Cruise. I mean,
Renner really wasn't in this that much, though. You
mentioned
true. That, and that just kind of made me think about how I think he was a bigger part in the last one. So yeah, I guess I was a little surprised, because I had thought that when they were going to bring him into this franchise, that eventually he was going to take over for Tom Cruise when Tom Cruise became too old to, keep being the star of the show, and Renner's star was starting to rise. He was he replaced Damon in the Bourne movies, so
right.
I thought he was just going to try to do the same thing here with Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what this movie kind of makes that kind of hard to believe, because he doesn't really seem like
behind the scenes guy.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess if I had seen Ghost Protocol, and if Jeremy Renner kicks ass in that movie and doesn't kick ass in this movie, I'd be a little bit let down. But I mean, in the place of Jeremy Renner's character, you have Rebecca Ferguson, who I thought was fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, she was really good.
Yeah, she brought an element to the film that really, it added a sexiness without it being overt sexuality.
Yeah, she's playing this agent who you're not really sure where her allegiance is. Is she part of this? What's this Rogue Nation called? I can't remember the name of the other agency, but you think she's the Syndicate.
Yeah,
You're
right.
not sure if she's loyal to the Syndicate, and then you find out that she's a former British spy, and she's in deep cover, trying to get out, and she's conflicted about it, what she has to do. She has to cross certain lines to get free of this situation that she's found herself in. So, she's got her own story. She's not just just kind of there for Ethan Hunt to fight against, or do you know what I mean? Like, she's not like just a foil for him. I think that's the correct literary term. You know, she's got her own past and her own chunk of this movie. You know, she owns it, and it was refreshing for me to see like a real woman. You know, not just like at the end of the movie, for instance, when they hug instead of like cheesily making out. You know. It was more of like, hey, that's cool. Like, they respect each other, you know, and they're friends instead of, you know, it doesn't always have to be about getting the girl, you know, and like riding off together. You know, now they can both, you know, as equals go their own way. So that was pretty cool to see in an action movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it kind of, that ambiguity of a character added to the intrigue of those scenes where there's not action taking place, of those scenes where they're taking a break from the action, and you know, you're trying to figure out who this person, what her story is, what is she about. You know, she ropes Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt in enough to, he's pretty interested in what her story is. You know, he's like, she kind of keeps everyone on their toes, you know. And when she invites them to Morocco, they're all still trying to figure out what her deal is. You know what I mean? So
yeah, because like he first bumps into her when he's taken in by the syndicate, and they have like instructions to beat him. He escapes with her help. So then you think she's on his side, and then they meet up again at the theater. And there's that sequence, and after that is Morocco. So yeah, that's the third time now that they've encountered each other, and they still don't really know where she lies.
Yeah, and I gotta say that perhaps one slight mark against this film is that, I mean, it's like a 1-2-3 punch of fantastic action sequences from the very beginning with Tom Cruise hanging off on the side of the airplane, to the Hitchcock-like theater sequence where there's, I mean, it's like kind of Hitchcock on steroids a bit, because there's several potential snipers, potential assassins, and Tom Cruise and Simon Pegg have to figure out which one's the person going to kill the Prime Minister of Austria or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that going on. You know, just the fights up on those rafters. And what I like about it is that, I mean, it has like these moments, you know, where Tom Cruise is jumping from rafter to rafter, fighting this guy on a rafter, and then trying to find the person who's going to, you know, take out the Prime Minister. You know, it's very tense, but it's not the same type of action sequence as the very beginning with the airplane jump, or the middle of the movie, you know, kind of like the climax, at least in the middle of the movie, where it's the underwater heist going on, which is a fantastic sequence all you know, of its own. But what I like is that there's different levels of tension that works out in the movie.
That airplane, like, he's joking, or it's kind of funny, like he's hanging on the side of the plane and he's like, come on, open the door, and then even when he's fighting on the rafters, like there's that one section or segment where he's coming down and the other guy just keeps coming up because he's so much bigger than Tom Cruise is. So, I mean, there's some humor in there too. But then, yeah, the stakes kind of get a little higher and higher. What happened first? The water scene, and then there's that chase scene, right? Through one right after the other. Yeah. No time to rest, really. Just right into it.
Yeah, and that was great. I mean, it's kind of hard to find something different to do with a chase scene. Unless your entire movie is a chase scene, like with Mad Max Fury Road. It's almost hard to talk about even action. Like, since that movie came out, it's hard to talk about other action films about being like, well, then again, Fury Road, you know what I mean? But I thought there were some interesting little tidbits, and it wasn't taken as seriously, you know. There were a lot of moments of levity, you know, between Ving Rhames and Jeremy Renner. You know, falling behind. You know, you have all those motorcycles going on their run with Tom Cruise behind them, going down those steps. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're right. Like while everything is happening, you've got comic relief coming from Ving Rhames and Jeremy Renner, and also from Simon Pegg within the car.
Right. Yeah, it's very intricately done action, and you know, there's a moment where like Tom kind of like puts the car sideways really quick, like jerks it like that, and you know, knocks out a couple of guys on motorcycles that way. There was a real oomph to like those moments. Like it felt really tight. Like each moment happening after the other, it felt so clear and focused that you could really get into it. Instead of it just being loud noises, you know what I mean? There are some movies where it's just, you know, and kind of tying into what I was saying before is that like a lot of action movies, a lot of, you know, blockbusters, it's really just their action sequences have no nuance to them. And I think what's so great about Rogue Nation is that there is a nuance to what kind of action is displayed. One sequence could be really quiet. One sequence could be underwater. One sequence could be in the air. One sequence could be on the road. There are many different ways that they go about it. And you know, you look at like, I suppose, to like Age of Ultron, when really just shit is just blowing up, and you know, I mean, and with each sequence, you have, you know, each superhero doing their own thing, but not like in a different way. It's always kind of the same things that they're doing. Mm-hmm. Whereas Rogue Nation, I feel, there's a mix. There's a mix of different things that Ethan Hunt does, that his team does, that Rebecca Ferguson does. Like even in that sequence when Tom Cruise is being held by the Syndicate, he has that moment where it's almost like a Jean-Claude Van Damme moment. He's like tied, you know, on that pole, and he like lifts himself up that pole with just his wrists. Like that was pretty cool. Yeah. The way he did that. I mean, it looked like he did that. So that's pretty damn cool that he's able to. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to lift myself up like that.
I know he takes a lot of pride in his stunts for these movies. You know, going back to the beginning, I think he's been really hands-on with the stunt work in the Mission Impossible movies, which is really impressive considering he's not a young man anymore.
No, and I think that's what kind of drives him to want to make more of these movies, is him trying to. I think he's just a death-defying type guy. That's what it seems like anyway. Yeah. Because he wants to find different ways to thrill the audience, and I think that's what he doesn't get enough credit for. And we could talk about this a little later if you want to, you know, wrap up, talk about the movie. But I really feel like Tom Cruise doesn't get a fair share of credit for what he brings to a movie like this. He doesn't, you know, the past couple of years, the Tom Cruise movie hasn't exactly had the same effect as it had like from 1983 to 2005, right? But you know, with Edge of Tomorrow and this movie, and you know, presumably Ghost Protocol, I mean, there are moments when you see Tom Cruise on screen, you're like, that's an action star right there. That's the person, the actor that we've loved to watch for the past 30 years. That there he is doing what he does best. Yeah. And I don't know, I just wish we were able to appreciate it more. Unfortunately, because he's a weird guy, we kind of have this cynical way of approaching his material.
He's an easy target, you know, for criticism because of what he does outside of movies. But like when he's in front of the camera, he's always bringing it. And if we're gonna critique him on something, we should critique him on that. If he wants to be a weirdo in his own life, that's fine. No offense, but I'm looking back at his filmography, trying to figure out kind of where the lull is. You said 2005.
Yeah, after War of the Worlds, it seemed like he took a bit of a dip.
Yeah, because before that it was like boom, 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 Collateral, Last Samurai, Minority Report, Vanilla Sky, Mission Impossible 2, Magnolia, Eyes Wide Shut, Jerry Maguire, and then Mission Impossible. And then of course he has a career well before that. But after War of the Worlds, he did Mission Impossible 3, then Lions for Lambs, Tropic Thunder, Valkyrie, Night and Day, which was kind of like a Mission Impossible cheap imitation. Rock of Ages, he did that after Ghost Protocol. Jack Reacher, it wasn't. I didn't see that, but
no, I didn't see it.
I remember seeing like the trailer for it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna see that. What was Oblivion? Oh, that's that action movie that.
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi, yeah, where he's like a pilot. And then Morgan Freeman's underground.
You didn't see that movie?
No, I didn't see Oblivion.
I saw Oblivion. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think it was that great, but I guess he is kind of a pilot. Yeah, you're right. And he's like, it's like WALL-E almost. Like he's like
Last Man on Earth.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and he gets to have sex with. Is it Andrea Riseborough?
Olga Kurylenko?
Maybe that's who it was.
Model, probably like a foot taller than he is.
No, actually, I think it was his. He has like a partner. I think that's on Andrea Riseborough, who was in Birdman the next year, and he gets to like have sex with her. Like that's his partner, and then but then he finds Olga Kurylenko at some point. It's not a very memorable film, but what I will say is that with Edge of Tomorrow, I feel like that, and the Mission Impossible movies, I like Tom Cruise when he's in fun mode. You know what I mean? I really do. I think that what we've been missing from Tom Cruise for a long time, though, is cocky Tom Cruise, which needs to come back. I mean, Edge of Tomorrow, he's kind of cocky in Edge of Tomorrow.
You know what I mean, though? Because I'm reading up here. I'm scrolling up to what's coming up, and did you see this, that they've announced Top Gun 2?
Yeah, I saw that.
So that, I mean, I've never really sat down and watched Top Gun from front to back.
Really?
Yeah, really. It's just never happened. I've seen bits and pieces, chunks, really. I've seen enough of it to get it, but it's definitely a lot of cockiness and confidence in that.
I mean, Top Gun is a pretty. I don't want to say groundbreaking, but when you think about what the action blockbuster has become, you can blame, I guess, a lot of it with Top Gun. That movie, and really.
So you don't think it's just a metaphor for homosexuality?
Oh no, there's all that. There's a lot of that going on too. I'm just saying that it really kind of showed studios. I feel like without Top Gun, Michael Bay movies wouldn't have been able to thrive as they have. You know what I mean? Like
right.
It kind of set the standard for that kind of, I want to say, like dumb brawn over brains type action
check
film.
Your brain at the door.
Yeah, well, where the emphasis is on like the really tough guy action film, but not in like a Arnold Schwarzenegger way, like a different, it's more about like the set pieces than like the action star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like with or like the stunts or what have you. You know what I mean?
I get you.
Like, because Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise, and there's a pretty good cast, and Tom Cruise is an action star in the movie. I'm just saying
but it's not like First Blood or something where it's like all about Rambo. Here's all the stuff we're going to throw at Rambo.
Right, the big sequences in Top Gun involve him in a jet. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Whereas, like, Schwarzenegger or Stallone or they're kicking ass in their action films. Where with Top Gun, the spectacle is really the star of the film, and I think that probably one of the first action films to really make it about that, make it about the spectacle and not really about the story. Because if you look at blockbusters before then, I mean, even with Indiana Jones, which, you know, kind of like Mission Impossible movies, it's really about like the set pieces with the plot mixed in, but a lot of careful attention is paid to the story or to the characters, or to Indiana Jones, you know, and to the whatever supporting characters he has with him at the time. So you could still call the Indiana Jones films character based, despite having a lot of different action sequences. But with Top Gun, I mean, there's memorable characters, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're watching it for the spectacle. You know, you're watching it for the crazy jet stunts and all that. And that could be said about, you know, the last 5 Michael Bay movies or what have you. You know, or Roland Emmerich, right? The 2012 director.
Right. Destruction movies.
Yeah, what was it? Peter Berg, the guy who made, Battleship, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing that we see a lot now. I feel like Top Gun was kind of like the first of its kind, of that mold.
So they realized that there's something to be had here, and they just went crazy.
I mean, the next team up with Tony Scott, who's a real great director in his own right. It's just that his movies were very much genre type. You know, it was very much of the genre. I feel like Tony Scott really knew how to make those types of movies. Like, even if they weren't like good, you still appreciated the craft. Whereas like a Michael Bay movie or a Peter Berg movie, their movies are so loud and just off-putting that you can't really appreciate the craft itself. But like the next team up between Scott and Cruise was Days of Thunder, and again, it's like the centerpiece is the race car scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's an even dumber movie than Top Gun. You know, like the. So what I'm saying is that, you know, Top Gun 2, I mean, cocky maybe, but I'm talking about Tom Cruise in Color of Money, Rain Man, A Few Good Men, even Jerry Maguire. You know, that type of Tom Cruise, where he thinks he's like he could do everything. He thinks he's the badass, but he, through a series of, you know, dramatic moments, realizes that he's not like he's not hot shit. You know what I mean? That's Tom Cruise. Like, even Risky Business kind of introduced us to that Tom Cruise.
So you must have really liked Edge of Tomorrow then, because that's kind of the Tom Cruise.
Yeah. That kind of brings that back. He is kind of cocky in that film, and that's really what I liked about it.
Yeah, in the beginning he's trying to talk his way out of this. You know, like,
right?
You know, you can't get me, and then finds himself in this uncomfortable situation, has to learn about himself, and you know, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with the Mission Impossible movies, which, you know, I said I enjoyed Rogue Nation and the first one.
Yeah.
And you know, with movies like Oblivion and some of his other action movies of late, I feel like it's really more like the persona of Tom Cruise, like the action star persona.
Yeah. And
like, I would still say that he does hold his own in like the dramatic moments of those movies. Like, he elevates them to a point where you take those moments more seriously than you would have otherwise with a lesser actor like a John Travolta, who you just can't take seriously when he's in action or when he's not in action. With Tom Cruise, I'm able to take him seriously. Like, he's never overacting. I would never say that Tom Cruise is like, oh my god, that was a terrible scene Tom Cruise did. You know what I mean? I haven't seen Rock of Ages, so I don't know if he's bad in that movie, but with the movies I've seen, like, he's never the worst part of the movie. He's really, if anything, he's the actor trying to keep the movie together. Yeah. Even in a bad movie.
Yeah.
Not to get too enamored with the guy, but
It's hard not to when he flashes those pearly whites and that, megawatt smile of his. He's a dreamboat.
I mean, I guess we're in full blown Tom Cruise mode, but when you look at his career, and I think that there are phases of Tom Cruise's career. I don't know if you noticed that, but there are phases. And I thought about this because when I first mentioned doing an episode about Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise, his early roles up to Risky Business, up to right before Rain Man, that's like young, cocky Tom Cruise era. The early 80s to about 88 when he made Cocktail. That's like Tom Cruise as like the young, sexy, cocky, kind of a douchebag, hotshot douchebag type guy. Yeah. And he used that persona in many different ways. With Risky Business and Risky Business, he's kind of like the hero. Top Gun, he's like the action hero. Color Money, Scorsese uses it differently in that movie. He's kind of like the punk kid to Paul Newman's like. Paul Newman's like the man, and this Tom Cruise's character tries to, out-hustle the hustler, and Paul Newman's like, "Fuck that!" You can't out-hustle me. That was kind of an interesting Fast Eddie. That's his character, Paul Newman's character. That was kind of an interesting take on how to like dissect that Cruise's persona at the time. But with Rain Man up until I'd say throughout the 90s, I would say that's Tom Cruise trying to get the Oscar. I mean, a lot of those movies that he made, except for, a couple occasional dips back into action, like Mission Impossible and Days of Thunder. Yeah. You start with Rain Man and go with Born on the 4th of July, Far and Away, A Few Good Men, The Firm, which is more of. I mean, I don't think anyone ever took that movie too seriously. I don't remember if I've even seen it, but I know that made a lot of money at the box office. I'm not sure that's exactly, but this period he's working with serious directors. He's working with Rob Reiner, and I mean like serious in the sense that like they have a strong point of view. Yeah. And so he's working with Rob Reiner, Oliver Stone, Barry Levinson with Rain Man. Who was that? Sidney Pollack with The Firm, I believe. Yep. I believe so. Yeah, Sidney Pollack. Neil Jordan with Interview with the Vampire. I think, right? And Neil Jordan was just coming off the. Please tell me I'm right. Please tell me I'm right with that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Because Neil Jordan was just coming off of The Crying Game with that movie, and then Cameron Crowe with Jerry Maguire, Stanley Kubrick with Eyes Wide Shut, and then Magnolia with Paul Thomas Anderson. I would say that's really him really trying to go for that Oscar. And I think after Magnolia, like, he was nominated for a third time. I think that was the last time he was nominated. I think at that point, he worked on Eyes Wide Shut for like 2 years. That's why there's a 3-year gap between Jerry Maguire and Eyes Wide Shut. He worked on that for so long. He got a lot of that experience, and I think that made him take on riskier roles with like Vanilla Sky and Collateral. I guess Last Samurai, maybe not risky, but like he is definitely trying something different with that. And Minority Report is definitely a high concept sci-fi film that you haven't really seen him do before. So yeah, I feel like with the early 2000s, you're right. That's like the most interesting period of his career because he's really trying to do different things, and he's in very interesting movies. Even if they're not all good, they're all very interesting. But then at a certain point, when he met Katie Holmes around
I'm gonna blame her for
2005. I'm telling you,
like that's when it. Yeah, I'm telling you. Like, let me get back to those kind of movies.
Yeah, I mean, he tried with like Lions for Lambs. I never saw that movie, but like that's kind of like his, more of a drama. But yeah, from 2005 to the next couple of years, you have Tom Cruise either doing kind of like generic action star roles or with Tropic Thunder kind
of, or historical dramas like Valkyrie and Lions for Lambs.
And I would say that like Tropic Thunder and Rock of Ages especially is kind of like a self-aware kind of, oh my god, Tom Cruise is a rock star type thing going on. Whereas Tropic Thunder is clearly him trying to, goof on his own persona, kind of, oh my god, Tom Cruise can be a Harvey Weinstein type character, like he's fat and bald, isn't it hilarious? Yeah, I think that's a funny character. I'm just saying that that's what I see. I feel like a lot of what he's done the last 10 years, save for the last two movies, it's a little bit too calculated in my view. I think hasn't really been able to take on risky roles.
Yeah.
A lot. He's really taken on safe roles, and even like Edge of Tomorrow and Rogue Nation are safe roles, but at the very least, he's more reliable. When you watch those movies, you're reminded why you like Tom Cruise in the first place. You know what I mean? Whereas like for a period there, you're kind of like, all right, Tom Cruise, what are you doing? What's this path you're taking? Are you taking it back? Maybe you're done. You tried your Oscar period. You tried your more experimental period. And maybe you're just kind of like, maybe after Collateral, he was like, you know what, like, I've done the bad guy. And now I'm like full-blown Scientologist, so what do I do now? You know what I mean? So maybe he just felt like, I don't know, you know what I mean? It just seems like he didn't really, like you said, kind of like was going for the paycheck there a little bit. What are your thoughts?
I don't know, you're hitting the nail on the head, really. So, I don't know, you're going through these movies and a lot of them I hadn't seen. Like, I was just looking at the information for Lions for Lambs, and like, I'm remembering that, those movies were kind of on my radar, but I just never got around to seeing them.
Right. I never saw it too.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you're able to see the pattern and where he was as an actor, what he was trying to do. After you have that stretch where you're working with really good directors and, trying different things, it makes sense that he would do a movie like Vanilla Sky or take on a different kind of role in Collateral. I don't know. Even now, just seeing him in Edge of Tomorrow and Rogue Nation, even though those movies work, I don't think, he's not really getting that far out of his comfort zone. This is Tom Cruise's bread and butter. And looking into the future, into what he's got planned, it's a Mission Impossible sequel, a Jack Reacher sequel, a Top Gun sequel, and then this movie Mena. So I don't know. I mean, that's in post-production. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be the next thing that's coming out.
Yeah. I mean, that's him working with Doug Liman again, and Doug Liman directed Edge of Tomorrow. So that's we'll see where.
Also? Oh no, that's okay. Never mind.
That's Christopher McQuarrie. No,
I like Tom Cruise. There was a while when I was kind of like, I enjoyed more making fun of him than actually taking, looking at his work for what it is, because of the Scientology thing, and like South Park was ripping him apart, and he was just like jumping on couches and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the mid 2000s were just a tumultuous time. Not even for him. I'm sure he doesn't look at it that way, but as far as like his status, because you're talking about someone who is just kind of unstoppable in the box office, just in life, just killing it with making these movies.
Movie star in the world,
right? And here he goes, crashing down in a huge way, professing his love. I think he just, watching Going Clear, the documentary.
Yeah.
I think he was just he kind of went insane a little bit there because of how hard they were grilling him.
The Matt Lauer interview.
I mean, that was just insane. Oh no! Oh wait, no. What I'm talking about is the Scientologists.
Oh no, yeah, I know what you're talking about, but
okay.
I was just using that as an example of him. Kind of
right? Yeah. Okay. I was hoping that was the case. Yeah. Because when you look at him in that interview, he's just that's almost like. Looking at that now, it's like that can't really be him. That's like he's being channeled by like that fucking douchebag Scientologist head. What's his name? Miscavige or Miscavige?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like that's that dude channeling him, because it's almost like he's talking like after watching Going Clear. It's like almost in the Matt Lauer interview, it's almost like he's channeling the leader of the Scientology church.
I know that anytime you get an actor on TV or in an interview segment where there's a camera or something, they're going to turn it on. But when I watched that, I couldn't help feeling like he's acting a little bit. Even though he's an actor, like that's what he does for a living. But it seemed like, that was just a little too forced. I don't know.
I know that Scientology has kind of saved him. I guess he says it helped him with his dyslexia apparently, and obviously because the church wants him so badly. I guess that feel of being wanted by such a big organization, because I refuse to call it a religion, to be wanted like that must feel pretty good. Like he can pretty much do whatever he wants without, speaking ill of the church. He can never do that, obviously, because he wouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is that he's kind of like really the face of the church. And so he could pretty much, he's in a position where he can pretty much, like, if he were to, like, and the thing is, I don't think he realizes, like, if he really didn't like the church, like, I feel like they would crumble. They would be in serious trouble if he ever turned against the church. Like, they would try to, like, slander him. I'm sure they would try to, like, expose him for, like, being, like, a closet homosexual or whatever weird things is going on with his personal life.
Didn't they do the same thing with John Travolta? That's what they talked about in Going Clear anyway. Like, they get these recordings of you, talking about your life, and it's almost like taping therapy for somebody. Like, really talking about stuff that nobody should know. So it's now that they've got now we're just talking about Scientology. But,
well, no, I would say that I almost feel like we're at the point where, like, we found out Tom Cruise had, like, homosexual flings. Would we be, like, icky about it at first? Maybe, but it's like, I mean, gay marriage is legal everywhere. Like, it's not a big fucking deal. I wouldn't. Whoever would actually care that he's closeted homosexual is an asshole. You know what I mean? But what I would say is that I almost wish that if he really felt, and I don't think he ever will. I don't think this is ever going to happen. But I'm just saying, if he really felt like he wanted to leave the church, I think he could. I think that he could take whatever fallout happens, because I think everyone would see it for what it is, especially after the Going Clear document came out.
Yeah.
I think sure it would.
There would be way more people supporting him leaving Scientology than wanting him to stay. Because it's almost like everybody wants. It's like, we want to love you, but it's like your friend is so weird. Something like that. So yeah. I like Tom Cruise, and for a while I was like, I shouldn't, I'm not supposed to like him, but Collateral, love it, love Minority Report, Magnolia, I can go through Jerry Maguire. I think that's just him. Like that's probably going to go down as one of his best.
His best roles, you would say?
Just one of his best roles. Yeah, he is that movie.
That's true.
So. But,
I mean, he was probably the only person at that moment in time that could make a movie like Jerry Maguire be a blockbuster type hit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He had that power. And even in A Few Good Men, he has that classic cockiness to him that, but then he's able to switch on and go toe to toe with Jack Nicholson in one of the most memorable scenes of movie history.
Yeah.
I mean, most people quote Jack Nicholson's side of that.
They forget about Tom. Like, I want the truth.
Right, and like the way he's able to goad him, it feels totally believable.
Yeah.
The way he's able to get Jack Nicholson's character to confess.
Up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I really want to press, is that even like with the Mission Impossible movies, Tom Cruise has a dramatic backbone. Like, he's not taking a backseat during the dramatic scenes. At least in the movies that I've seen like that. Even in Oblivion, like I said, and I said it again. I said it before. I'll say it again. I always feel like, even if it's not a very good movie, Tom Cruise is probably the best part of whatever movie we're talking about. Yeah, he's the glue that at least tries to mend the weak parts and try to make it stronger. I think even though he may have kind of been taking on safe roles, I think he does care about making his movies good. I don't think he's ever. He may be in some way taking a paycheck here and there, but I think he honestly wants to make good movies, and that's kind of that might sound like a silly thing to say, but you look at some actors, you look at some action stars. I'm thinking of like a recent star in Miles Teller, and it just, Fantastic Four flopping the way it did. I just think that I've seen Miles Teller talk about, taking on Fantastic Four, and it always seems like there's almost like a pretentiousness where it's like, well, you can make a lot of money when you star in those movies, get more box office credibility. I don't know, but it just seems like Miles Teller doesn't really take those types of movies seriously. I just feel like he's a young actor. Maybe he'll get better at that. But I always feel like Tom Cruise, even in the dumbest movie, he's still on. He still wants to be
he's still dedicated
great
to it, right?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of young actors. There are a lot of actors in general these days, where like maybe they'll put their best work in like a indie film, but then they're in the big action film and they're not quite cutting it. They're not quite putting all their efforts into it, because it's like, oh, I'm just kind of doing this for the money, and it's like, well, then earn your paycheck, So when Jack Nicholson signs on to a movie, it's Jack Nicholson movie. He's going to do his thing. It's probably going to be the same thing he's always done, but it's going to be, you're going to like it because you like Jack Nicholson, and that's the same thing with Tom Cruise. And so when you look at his filmography, like, yeah, he worked with great directors on them, but it's like those movies are as much Tom Cruise movies as they are the director's movies. The closest is like Eyes Wide Shut and Magnolia, where that's a Kubrick and that's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. But for the most part, like even with Michael Mann's Collateral, like that's Tom Cruise going bad. That's why you want to see that movie. You know what I mean? Like, Michael Mann directing it is an added factor to it, but Tom Cruise going bad, you're like, well, I gotta go see Tom Cruise be a villain. You think about other big stars that right now in Hollywood, these stars can pretty much get any project they want funded. You think about Johnny Depp, you think about Robert Downey Jr. These guys Leonardo DiCaprio, who is of that group, he's the only one who will use his star persona as an advantage to get movies funded that otherwise would not be funded.
What about Brad
Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, yes, but even Brad Pitt, like, it's because he has his own production company, just like DiCaprio does.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt has Plan B production company, but I would even say like Brad Pitt, maybe I almost feel like Brad Pitt's star when he's in like World War Z, it'll still make big bucks. But I'm saying, like with DiCaprio, he'll get movies funded that otherwise wouldn't get funded, and they'll still do well in the box office. Like, people will still go see that movie. Whereas like Brad Pitt, there are times when like he does like Tree of Life or Killing Them Softly or The Counselor or even Fury, which did okay, which is not exactly it's more of like an Oscar baity, almost blockbuster type war film, not quite like an arty type movie, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like when Brad Pitt kind of goes in like that other area when he's trying to make more interesting movies, he doesn't exactly rake in the box office like he does when he like works with Tarantino or when he makes World War Z. If he's working with the director, it has to be like a Tarantino or a Spielberg to make it interesting. To make like an interesting film that's not like not necessarily like a blockbuster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like with DiCaprio, he'll work with Iñárritu in The Revenant. Wolf of Wall Street. No one wanted to fund that movie. You know, like it was a 3-hour fucking hard R movie.
Yeah.
And could anybody else star in that movie and make it as successful as it was? No, it would have.
No way. I can't picture anybody even in that role anymore.
So I guess what I'm saying is that, like, with Will Smith and Tom Cruise and Johnny Depp and Robert Downey Jr., you kind of wish that they could, or that they would, use their persona to make interesting projects like those other actors have done. You know, work with interesting directors that, you know, have hard time getting funding. You know, I mean, you look at what Robert Downey Jr. at least is trying to do with Paul Thomas Anderson, but even then he's like, hey, Paul Thomas Anderson, why don't you work on my project, Pinocchio? Yeah. You know, like that's the best way you can, like, get Paul Thomas Anderson to work with him, I guess. What could Tom Cruise have made in the last 10 years? You know what I mean? If he continued working with interesting directors, what could he have done? You know, if he that's like what you have to wonder about, because he's kind of taking safe roles. What if he didn't? You know what I mean? Or did he have to? After the Scientology thing, did he have to take safe roles? Maybe that's what he felt like, or studios felt like they can't really afford to make a Magnolia film with Tom Cruise because people don't want to take him seriously anymore. So possible. Maybe he has to, yeah. So
do you want to end it on a note where we kind of began? We started talking about the spy movie with Mission Impossible.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about the new Spectre full-length trailer that came out not too long ago? Because you got some pretty good footage. I haven't seen it since it came out, but, you know, like Christoph Waltz, you see a little bit more of him this time. And I don't know, you just get more of a sense of what this is going to be, which is kind of like, it reminds me of what we just watched with Mission Impossible, because you're dealing with, you know, another agency, this time Spectre, you know, going against MI6 versus compared. So, but yeah, are you excited for this movie?
I am. I mean, especially after Skyfall, I think this is going to be a big hit. I think that people are especially going to be tuned in to see if it's as good as Skyfall, and I think it can. I think there's room for it to be better than Skyfall. I don't think Skyfall's perfect.
What do people love so much about Skyfall? Because my favorite is still Casino Royale.
Oh yeah,
of Daniel Craig's Bond movies, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that Skyfall just really the perfect combination of, like, a really intriguing villain in Javier Bardem.
Yeah. And
I think that it really did have some knockout action sequences. And Sam Mendes and Roger Deakins can shoot the hell out of a movie. I mean, that Skyfall is a beautiful film.
Yeah.
Beautiful looking film. The sequences in Shanghai are just...
Yeah,
you can look at those sequences again. Mm-hmm. The lighting is just on point.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And after watching, you're like, if Roger Deakins... I know that a lot of blockbuster of this type doesn't get nominated for Oscars, but he should have been in the conversation with that movie, because he really outdid himself there. It looked so good. And that's kind of what elevated for me. It looked great.
And the same people coming together for Spectre?
Yeah. I'm not sure if Roger Deakins shot Spectre, but I know Sam Mendes came back, and I have to look that up. But yeah, I just think that Skyfall made over $1 billion in the box office worldwide. So I think unless Spectre completely falls flat, we'll see how. No, Deakins did not shoot Spectre. Okay, but we'll see how Christoph Waltz manages to portray a villain that we haven't seen before, whether or not he actually, I don't know. When you see Christoph Waltz as a revealer, like, oh, cool, okay, but like, I'm not I want to see the movie, but I'm not exactly.
I know you have your reservations about him.
Yeah, I liked him in Tarantino's world.
Yeah.
But after Django, I was like, I'm done with this. I'm done with Waltz. Unless he could do something better, I'm kind of done with this whole thing that he does. I want to see something different from him. So, but yeah, we'll see if he can really portray a villain in Spectre that's interesting. You know, so yeah, it was a really solid trailer. And I'm looking forward to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess there's not much to say. I mean, that's the goal of a good trailer, is to get you excited for the movie. And, I mean, yeah, that it does that. But I guess what kind of intrigues me to talk about James Bond is because, or the fact that when we were growing up, GoldenEye came out. I mean, it must have come out similar to the time that Mission Impossible came out, because I remember growing up.
Yeah, same year. Or a year after, or year before.
Yeah, so like you had the American Spy and the British Spy, and for me it was almost like they were in the same universe or something like that. But like Ethan Hunt, Mission Impossible, GoldenEye, like those were just competing forces in my head. And then you've got some of these elements, like you're talking about the humor in Mission Impossible. That you don't really see too much in James Bond, and I don't even know if there's room for that in this brooding version of James Bond with Daniel Craig. But like the scene in Mission Impossible with Alec Baldwin and Jeremy Renner, you don't get stuff like that in Mission Impossible, you know.
Or in James Bond movie.
In Bond.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought there were some lighter moments in Skyfall. I thought,
tongue-in-cheek,
especially,
right?
Huh?
There's like some tongue-in-cheek humor.
Yeah, it is quite cheeky in spots. Particularly with Harvey Bardem's character. He like sort of comes on to James Bond at one point, and there are some moments between Bond and like Q and when he meets with Ben Wishaw's character. I think he's the new M, right?
Yeah.
I would say there's quite a bit of cheekiness in Skyfall. I think that's actually what made it more attractive compared to the last two Bond movies, is that it actually did have. It really isn't as brooding as the previous two Daniel Craig films. So. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how if he continues that path, and I think if Sam Mendes is still attached to it, since he directed it, I'm sure he wants to keep what works intact. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'll be seeing it.
When's this one come out? This winter?
Yeah, November, I believe.
Oh, sweet. That's soon.
Yeah, it's in 3 months. Less than 3 months. Yeah. Well, Justin, final verdict on Rogue Nation. I really, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, it's that type of franchise. I mean, Mission Impossible movies. I never quite fully. I don't think they're like the greatest movies or great. I think they're just really solid, and Rogue Nation is a particularly solid action film. Again, I still think it's the second best blockbuster movie of the summer, and I think it's going to remain that way because summer's all over. So that's kind of like the when you think about what other movies came out this summer. It's still a bit of an accomplishment, and it's Tom Cruise at his vintage best, basically doing stunts that no other man should ever do, especially if they're worth millions of dollars like he is, or I don't know, billions. I don't know, probably not. But yeah, I liked it. I kind of loved it in a lot of ways, and Rebecca Ferguson, fucking yeah, she pretty much kicked that kicked ass. So
she's a new face for me. Did you were you aware of her already?
No, that was pretty much my introduction to her. I know she was, she's a Swedish-born actress, and I know that she was in White Queen or something like that, The White Queen, or some British TV show. But yeah, I mean, hopefully she gets to do more interesting stuff. Apparently, according to IMDb, she's like number 1 in the star meter. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that matters. I don't really know anything.
IMDb star meter? Is that what that's in?
You know when you look at like the IMDb page, like there's like the number up top.
Oh yeah, she's number 1. Look at that.
Yeah,
Weird.
I mean, isn't it great if you're an actress or an actor and you're ranked on your own IMDb page? Like how that's got to be fun when you're just being ranked like a fucking I don't know, like cattle or something like that. Like
I don't know.
Grade A beef.
I was looking at some of these rankings while we were talking, and they like ranked the 33 best actors, and Kevin James is in the teens. So I don't know.
What are you looking at? What site?
IMDb, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, are you looking at like just random users lists, or like an actual list that was put together by professionals or semi-professionals?
It was just a link that was on some page that we were looking at. Probably when we first started, when we were talking about Rogue Nation.
What's your final thoughts on Rogue Nation before we go?
Well, it's easily a movie that a couple years ago I would have been a little more cynical about, like, oh, I'm not going to see that popcorn crap. But I've since changed. I can appreciate a damn good time at the movies, and that's what this is. It's not a movie that takes itself too seriously.
Right.
It has serious moments. It
lets you have a good time with it. You're not. Go on.
No, that's fine.
No. Go ahead. What are you gonna say?
that was a good transition. You could. Never mind.
No. Just to, but like that's to kind of end this, because this is really the last episode. Part 1 is probably going to be a whole episode in itself at this point. But what I'm saying is that, like, it's kind of like an interesting capper. Adventures was the first movie to come out for the summer.
To close out the summer?
Yeah, for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, basically to be the last, like, great blockbuster film to close out the summer. And when we began, we had Mad Max Fury Road. So it's kind of interesting. 2 different types of films. Mad Max Fury Road is like a great film. It's a groundbreaking way. I would say that's a great film.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would say that about many blockbusters the last couple of years. Mad Max Fury Road just kind of like put everything else on notice. It put the action genre on notice. And the only film to really stand up and say, hey, we don't really do what you do, but what we do is pretty damn cool, pretty damn fun, and that's Rogue Nation. I feel like, I mean, by the way people talk about like Ghost Protocol, and I know that was really well reviewed, but it really seems like the franchise has gone like back to basics, and like it sticks to it. It sticks to its guns, and it keeps things interesting, and it's a fun ride. And I think that I've said this before. It's not about checking your brain at the door. It's about, these movies are actually, when you have Terminator Genesis or Jurassic World, they're either too convoluted, unnecessarily convoluted, that when the action scenes are that, like, when it makes a path for the next action sequence, you're like, wait, what? I don't even understand why this is happening. Or you have something with Jurassic World, where it's like, it's so overly contrived that you can't even enjoy yourself because you could see everything coming, and it's not fun. Even with Rogue Nation, it's going to be an action sequence and then to take a break, action sequence, take a break, but they still play with you in a way enough that you're able to have fun with it. And I just, like, the characters aren't stupid. Like they at least have some idea of what to do in their world, whereas like Jurassic World, they're all idiots, basically, and they have no idea what they're doing in this world, in this Jurassic world. They have no idea They should have all been eaten, but they weren't because it's a Hollywood film. But you know what I mean? It just there's the difference. We said like, how come? Why can't you guys just enjoy movies? Why do you hate Jurassic World so much? It's like Rogue Nation. We clearly enjoy good blockbuster movies when they're good. Yeah. You know, when they actually have good craft to them, when they have like pizzazz, like when the style is working. Jurassic World has no style to it. There's no, and Genesis too. No style, no sense of style, no sense of like interesting craftsmanship going on. There's no voice to them. There's no. You don't feel like anyone's really. I mean, it feels like those films are made by committee, and Rogue Nation. Even though it's a fifth film of the franchise, it doesn't feel like it's made by committee. It feels like it's made by a couple of smart film writers, directors, and with Tom Cruise as like the producer and actor. Trying to put together some high quality entertainment. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's just Rogue Nation is a great example of like you don't even have to check your brain at the door. You can still keep your brain intact and enjoy this film because it's fun. That's a fun movie. That's what you want in a fun December blockbuster film.
Yeah, it gives me a little hope, I guess. Because I had all but given up on that whole genre, really. Like, the blockbuster, the summer blockbuster. Even though, like, I saw Mad Max, it's like, okay, there's hope. But then, when that movie gets completely outshined by something like Jurassic World, it's a bummer.
I mean, we have to understand, though, is that we're going to get many more Jurassic Worlds than we are of Rogue Nations. There's going to be more. I mean, we talked about DC. We talked about Marvel. Even though I always kind of like shit on Marvel a little bit, and then like I'm like, wow, I actually like that movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? I always kind of like am convinced the other way a little bit. But like what I'm saying in general is that like you look at like what DC is trying to do. You look at they're going to make another Jurassic World movie in the future. And with the Star Wars movies, who knows? I mean, I'm sure Force Awakens is going to be pretty good, but like with the anthology movies, with the what I mean with the anthology movies, like the way they're just kind of really exploiting the franchise. Who knows if that really turned? Who knows what the Star Wars franchise is going to look like? That's a topic for 3 years from now.
For another episode, because I disagree with you. I know what you're saying, like exploiting, but there's a difference between like beating a dead horse or like milking, a dead cow or any other dead animal analogy you want to use. But there's also like giving people what they want, and Star Wars fans are like a whole new breed. And they're gonna like people are gonna flock to theaters, and as long as they're putting together something worth seeing, then that's okay. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna hold off judgment until I see it. But yeah, I get your side. It's maybe overkill.
It's what it looks like right now, overkill. I'm just saying, hopefully in the future we have. The Rogue Nation, the Mad Max Fury Road. I don't think we're going to have a Mad Max Fury Road type movie in a long time. You're asking for almost something impossible, because there's a reason why it's a great it's a great blockbuster film that just doesn't come out all the time. That's why it's so special and unique. It's its own breed, and maybe hopefully filmmakers will be inspired by it. But Hollywood's not exactly saying make more Fury Roads, and if they were, it'd be for stupid reasons. Like they're not like trying to say make more great movies. They'd be like make more movies where Tom Hardy never talks or something like that. Who knows? They don't know the formula. Well, they always get it
difference,
wrong,
though, isn't it? Like Hollywood sees a movie that's successful, and they see the dollar signs, and they say, "Let's replicate that." Whereas, I think the reason that these filmmakers make these movies is that for the artists that they're going to inspire, or even just the fans that are going to go see that movie and like remember, like I became into I got into movies because of this movie, you know, or like that movie shaped me, and like 20 years down the road, we're listening to an interview of some newer director who said, yeah, I grew up on Mad Max Fury Road. That was my favorite movie.
Right.
So.
We're not gonna. No one 20 years from now is going to say, I grew up on Jurassic World, and if they do, you don't want to see that movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're not going to be clamoring to see the guy who was inspired by Jurassic World type movie. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I think Justyn, yet again, we've pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Man, we outdid ourselves.
We slayed it. We outdid ourselves in time and in our amazing banter. I think we really just we just know what we're talking about all the time.
After a shaky start too with the dog. I mean, I told you about the rough day that I had. I wasn't sure where the show was going to go.
Yeah. I know. I mean, and I hope you come to terms with your dog killing ways, but hey,
I didn't kill it, but yeah.
According to the podcast, you killed the dog. But I mean, hey, you're a dog killer, and I support you still. And you know what?
You support
me? Hey,
friends should say that more often. Hey, man, but I support you.
Justyn, I support you through your dog killing ways, and as long as you're not taking a picture of the dog with the dog afterwards, you're smiling with the corpse and stuff like that. I'm not gonna go against you too much there. You killed a dog, and that's just what it is. Facts are facts.
Those are the facts.
Those are the facts. The facts of life. Those are the facts, Jack. Oh my God.
I've had a really nice time talking to you on this episode of The Long Take. What do you say we bring it to a close? What do you say, Ken?
I think we should do exactly that so that we can go to sleep. Yeah. And so, on behalf of Alec Baldwin and all the crazy other characters we do on this show, and on behalf of speaking for Justyn, because that's what I like to do. I speak for Justyn when I say that I'm okay with being a dog killer. But for Justyn and me, you have listened to The Long Take. We are actually going to be back. We have to talk about Straight Outta Compton. We're going to find a way to try to talk about Straight Outta Compton with my busy schedule and your busy schedule. We have to talk about that movie. So That's going to be another episode, and then we'll close the books on the summer. Justyn, go ahead. Give us your final words. Go ahead. Say goodbye. Say goodbye, Justyn.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with Straight Outta Compton review coming at you soon. All right.
We're gonna be dropping it, dropping loads.
Whoa.
That's right. All right, Justyn. Take care.
See you later, man.
Peace.